This doesn't make sense that it's taken this long. Wow. Okay. So now, while this is going on, after that, there was a 911 call made. You've spoken about that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the attorneys know about your attorney. And what did they say about that?
They said.
Now I'm speaking. You only had one attorney, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. What did he say about that when you're explaining to him?
They were cutting my hours, and he said, "Do you have the proof?" I said, "Yes, I have the proof. I kept all my pay stubs." And as I kept all the pay stubs, he saw them, and he said, "Yeah, your hours." The store manager, the assistant store manager says, however, there were days when. No, after Mr. Herbert complained about sexual harassment, his hours were reduced, along with many other workers. However, there were days when Mr. Herbert was not allowed to work at all, and individuals that did the same type of work with less seniority were allowed to work. So when they cut, she said also, since Mr. Herbert reported that he was sexually harassed, I have heard the store manager make derogatory remarks about Mr. Herbert. And she said it appeared that the store manager wanted the suspect and her family in the store just so they could harass Mr. Herbert.
Wow.
Now that's deep.
That is. Okay, now with regards to the attorney, because this is we're gonna kind of shorten this up because this is a very long drawn out ordeal for Mr. and Mrs. Herbert. Now I want to go a little bit beyond that and get really into the substance of the arbitration.
Okay.
And so I need you to lead me because this ended and it didn't end well at all.
No, it didn't.
So I want you to kind of briefly take us through, but quickly take us through, and only speak elaborate on those subject matters that are very important. And I'll let you know in case you forget something.
Yes, ma'am.
But let's go back. Okay, so we got the attorney. You've been to one arbitration deposition. That went well. Mm-hmm. Was the judges involved at this point in time, or did you get a call from the judges after that arbitration? A deposition?
Well, we went to federal court first now.
Okay, now the deposition was before federal court or after?
The deposition that's the arbitration. That was after.
That was after. Now, who is that the way it goes? You go to federal court or you? Court. Okay, and what did federal court do for you?
Federal court, the attorneys kept saying, well, he signed some papers for arbitration. I said, I never signed any papers. He electronically did them. Then he came up with another excuse. He electronically.
Okay, now who is this talking?
This is the defendants, their attorneys.
Their attorneys, okay.
Dollar Tree attorneys.
So they come before the judge, because we're at federal court, right?
Right.
Okay.
We were supposed to go to federal court for the case, but because we went earlier, because they was fighting it, because they were saying that there was an arbitration paper signed. So we had to go before the judge before we could even present our case on the idea that it was some paper signed for arbitration.
Okay, so they're saying that you signed the papers, and you're saying that you didn't. Give us some more.
When he introduced the W-2 forms, he showed me the W-2 forms. He said, "This is your signature, right, Mr. Herbert?" I said, "Excuse me." I said, "No, that's not my signature." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "That's not my name." And the judge stood up in the courtroom. My attorney stood up and said, "Yeah, the name ain't on here, it's not right." So she said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, that's not his name." So they turned around and she said, "Well, let me see your ID, your license." So I showed it to him. And the judge turned around and he got up on the witness stand and lied and said he never filled them out. And I'm watching him. When I first came to him, he filled them out. He did it right in the office. On the computer. Because I couldn't do it on my computer because their system was set up differently. So he turns around and said, "I didn't do it." So that was it. And the judge turned around and told me that she believed me.
Okay. So it doesn't look like the attorneys knew what they were doing and everybody's pointing fingers. Nobody wanted to accept the fact whether they did it or not. Wow.
Well, what happened was she had to do her investigation. She said she'd get back with us. So we get an email, a letter saying that she believed him, that he did not sign it, he wasn't aware of it, and she also believed that the store manager did not put it in there. But Michigan law, some law she came up with, stated that because you accept the job, it doesn't matter if you was aware of these papers being in existence, or where you was not aware of these papers being in existence. You accept whatever
terms.
comes. If anything come up, you accept whatever terms or whatever papers showed up.
Wow.
In spite of your name being misspelled on an electronic.
And that's all jobs in Michigan.
Yes, but you're supposed to read the fine print. You're supposed to read all of the fine, and you're supposed to see all the fine. There's no such thing as you not seeing something and you're not being aware of it. You're supposed to read all the fine, which is your handbook.
Right.
It's supposed to be your employee.
They don't have it. They don't
handbook.
even have a handbook.
They don't even have an employee handbook. Wow.
And you wasn't aware of these papers because if you're on a computer, you got to be able to see the paper to read them and to accept it. If you're not doing it, you didn't agree to the paper.
So at this point in time, you just have no justice coming from anyone. Everybody
Right,
seems to have their butts covered with all of this. If you work for me, you sign papers, and that means automatically means you go along with the fact that you cannot sue me. Okay.
So she granted us to go to arbitration. She said you had to go to arbitration.
And this was the federal judge.
Federal judge.
So the federal judge, after all of that, granted you all to go to.
She ordered them.
She ordered to go to
Yes.
arbitration.
Yes.
Okay, now let's get to arbitration.
Yes.
This is the last arbitration, right?
Right.
This is the big arbitration.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me something about this, because from what you told me before, this did not work out well, and it
was horrible.
explanations are needed.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
So arbitration was granted. We supposed to went to arbitration in the November of 2017. And then before arbitration, we got a letter for him to go to a deposition. And you
Right.
explained the
Like I went to the
deposition.
deposition, and the deposition, they made it seem like I was the criminal. And I told them, they were saying, well, Mr. Herbert, how many people is in your family? We pulled up your family. We got your mother's name and this and that. I said, first of all, everything that you just pulled up is all irrelevant. Now I want everybody to understand something. My attorney is sitting next to me. He's not even saying nothing. He's not objecting to nothing. He was just sitting there. And I turned around and looked at him. And he told me when we went out in the hallway, he said, well, they want to know, they're making comments and saying that you're just trying to get some money to get something or get something. And I was like, first of all, I'm suing for righteousness. I'm suing for my rights. Because if that was me, what if she would have turned around and said, I did it? And I would report it. See, if I didn't report it, she could have turned around and said, I did it. And the thing is, that's why Bill Cosby and John Conyers and all of them, that's probably why they going through what they going through, because they didn't report it. When I report mine, because the situation was, I didn't touch her. Because I go by my biblical, by the word of God.
Okay. Okay.
Now, mind you, people, during the whole process, the defendant's attorney, idolatry attorneys, was saying that they did not know where the DVD were. There was no DVD around. There was no such thing as a DVD, and they wasn't aware of no police report. So mind you, they claimed that they didn't even know all this. We had to go out and get it ourselves to the police department.
Wait a minute. You're saying you had to go out and get your own evidence?
Yes. We got all the witnesses ourselves.
And then when we sent it, the police department sent it to us through our email, and then we sent it to our attorney, and then our attorney called their attorney and said, "Oh, it's at the police department. Y'all need to go pick it up."
Yes. He out of town.
Our own attorney wasn't even going to get it. We had to go get it ourselves.
Yep.
That was a year later, because when we went to get it within 2016, they said it wasn't available, because you got to remember the investigation was still ongoing.
Wow.
So he turns around in the deposition. Now, Miami people, we the deposition. They pull up the video. The girl section saw me on a big 100-foot screen, and we looking at the video, and all the attorneys sitting in there, and the people that's doing the cameraing and everything, they were all looking. They was like, "Wow!" You can hear some of the people in there saying, "Wow, she really did it." And my attorney said, "Y'all can't see that what she did." And they wouldn't say nothing. They would look at me. The white woman that they got for Dollar Tree, she just kept staring at me like, yeah, whatever. You should accept it. It should be a privilege.
What?
Really? Wow.
Well, I tell you, this is what our black men have to look forward to. No justice. Okay, Mr. Herbert, tell me something about the second time you went for the deposition.
Yes.
Okay, tell me something about that. What happened? Something happened.
Okay, I went to the deposition, and they interrogated me in the deposition. When I walked in there and everything, I sat down. My attorney sat with me. There were camera people, and he had his attorney. He was waiting for. He said his client. Well, his client was Dollar Tree's attorney. So they obtain attorneys here. They have firms already. So he turns around. We in a deposition. He brings in a piece of paper like this, files. So he goes through the files. He said, "Well, Mr. Herbert, have you been locked up or anything in the last 10 years?" I said, "No." So he says, "You have on your you have on your application that you was retired." I said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "I do music professionally." So he turns around and he says, "Well, Mr. Herbert, can I ask you another question?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Well, have you had any injuries or anything in the past? Or did you have a closed head injury? Because we have some paperwork showing that you had a closed head injury." I said, "A closed head injury?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I had an auto accident as I was getting off from work from Wayne County." So he breaks out and he says, "So can you give me the details?" I said, "Sir, that's irrelevant to the case." So my attorney said, "Well, you got to answer questions." I said, "I ain't got to answer nothing. That's irrelevant to the case, and you should have told them that." So he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Sir, we're here for sexual assault. We're not here for my life story." So they start bringing up how many kids you have and how old is your son. I said, "That's none of your business." So he breaks out and he says to me, "Well, Mr. Herbert, well, can we ask you another question?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, how many kids your wife got?" I said, "That's none of your business. Irrelevant to the case." So everything that they were saying, I told him it was irrelevant to the case.
Well, it was. It has nothing to do with what it was that we saw on the video.
Exactly. So he turns around. He says, "Well, can I ask you another question? Do you work for a funeral home?" I said, "Yes, I did. I embalmed." He says, so you had some real good jobs in this?" I said, "Sir, I didn't live this long for nothing." So he breaks out and tells me, in other words, people, he tells me, "Well, Mr. Herbert, I just can't believe that someone would just walk up and rub their butt on you."
Okay, but before you go any further, did he not see the video?
He had not seen the video. None of them had seen the video.
But he can't believe it.
He can't believe it.
Did he see the video so he can believe it?
He saw the video later.
I would like to know what his reply was later.
Well,
but go ahead.
So he turns around and he says, I said, "Well, the store manager, he signed the statement. They saw the DVD. They said the woman did it. The woman admitted that she did it. And you're going to sit up here and tell me that I'm crazy? You trying to make it like I'm crazy? You act like I'm the criminal."
Okay, so now I want to get to these medical record parts. Okay, so you never signed anything, and as far as you know, no medical record should have been received. But that's not the case.
In the deposition, right? In the deposition, they was asking me. They said, "Well, we have some medical forms." So I'm not filling that out. He said, "Yes." I said, "I'm not filling nothing out, and you can't make me." So I left out because we were getting lunch. So after that was over, the whole deposition went 6.5 hours. My attorney comes out. He says, "Well, they made an offer to you." I said, "Oh, what's the offer?" He said they made a $50,000 offer. I said, "Tell them to sleep on it." And
Okay, now what about the $15,000 offer?
Forget with that.
Okay, strike that. Okay, now they offered
$50,000. And I told my attorney, because my attorney said, "Well, I just bought a new Mustang for $45,000, and my wife, she upset for me getting it." We were outside talking. I said, "Oh, really? That was you in the Mustang?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, okay." And all of a sudden, he said $50,000, and he said, well, you would get 38 or whatever, and I get such and such. So I said, okay. I said, well, you tell him to keep it. So he turns back around, and he said, well, when we go for the settlement the next day, the settlement conference, he goes in and asks him, huh? Oh, I ain't signed nothing for that. Okay. I didn't sign no paperwork, people. I want everybody to understand. No paperwork was signed. Turns around, he asks me, he says, I'm asking for my client for $150,000. I looked around, I said, now, I know this cat daddy here ain't asking them for no $150,000. So I was going to reject it anyway, because I wasn't going to take it. He turns around, my wife was sitting in there with me, and the company came back and offered a lower, a wage, something so low, it would make you want to slap everybody in the house. And I was like, come on, really? So it didn't go well in the settlement. So the attorney, he act like he gets up and act like, he says, if I know that the judge is a conspiracy, is she working with you all? If y'all paid her off for anything, or I'm going to take this to the Supreme Court.
So this is what he said that. He said what had happened was when we turned all the offer down, said we see in arbitration. He said, well, you let them know, told the media to go back and tell them, when you let them know, if the judge come back, when we go to arbitration, if she come with the same price that they offered, or if she come anything lower, he'll know that she took a bribe, and to let her know that he will be taken to the Supreme Court.
Now, who's saying this? This is your attorney?
Yes.
Well, that was a good thing, though, right?
Yeah,
but then it turned.
We thought it was.
Okay, continue on, because this turned a little bit south, people.
So we left.
Okay, now and that was the second arbitration.
It was scheduled for a
deposition.
Okay, that was the second deposition.
No, that wasn't even a deposition. That was the settlement conference.
Okay, settlement conference.
Right.
And then what comes next?
My attorney. Well, in the settlement conference, my attorney said, well, we have a DVD and a police report. He said, and the individual that was in there to go back and forth, he said that he saw the DVD, and his response was, she sexually assaulted me. He said, yeah, it's there.
Now, who's saying this?
This was the what they call him, the mediator.
Okay, so okay.
So the mediator saw it, the DVD. And he said, because my attorney asked him, he said, well, did you see the DVD? He said, yes. He said, what is your thought on it? He said, he was definitely sexually assaulted.
Okay, so, and because it went south. So everybody's seeing it and stating what it is, but the legal system didn't see it that way, apparently.
No, right, because what they did is they turned around and said, he went back to them. They came back and said, well, all she did was make a little bump to him by accident.
Now, who's saying this?
The defendants.
The attorneys.
Dollar Tree.
The Dollar Tree attorneys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. That's what they're supposed to say. Okay. Anything?
No.
Mrs.
So the next step was to go to, they had rescheduled arbitration for January 31st.
January the 31st was they had two arbitrations. So one night, November the 16th and November the 31st. I mean, January the 31st. So as we go, he calls us to the office in December.
Who is he?
Our attorney. I'm sorry, folks.
Mm-hmm.
My attorney called me in to go in December and to fill out some medical authorization forms, which we have here. He turns around with the medical authorization forms. My wife says, we're not signing this. They had HIV, herpes. They had all type of different diseases. I said, man, I ain't never had no disease. I ain't got no disease. Why would I said, I'm not filling that out. So the secretary kept replying, well, you do have to fill them out. I said, I'm not filling them out.
Well, before you get there, the reason why I told him not to fill them out was because the reason for us coming to his office, our attorney office, was he said that I need some paper for you to fill out for me and bring in some more information that we needed, his check stubs, everything that he needed. He said because the defendant needed this. So when we got there, as he was filling out he was giving him the paperwork, and the secretary was making copies. I read the first. Let me read them while you filling that out. And I was reading it. I said, "Well, this is not for our attorney. I thought you said your attorney needed some forms filled out, some medical forms that he needed. This is for the arbitrator. This is for the defendants. The defendants is needed this. I said, you're not filling this out. This is not for our attorney.
Yeah, right.
I said, if your attorney felt that he needed this information, he was supposed to collect this when he was collecting all the evidence that we was giving him in the beginning of the case.
Right. So
Wow.
So it turned south where it went, I didn't fill them out. So like 2 weeks later, January the 31st was coming up for the arbitration. And he says the judge actually, where's the judge statements at?
This is his.
Right. Let me go here. The judge, this is his statement here. His statement was January the 7th, 2018, 11:28. Per my secretary, it is my understanding that you have refused to sign the medical authorization forms that the defendant has requested through the discovery process, wherein you are claiming emotional distress and mental anguish in your lawsuit. He lied. That was a chump charge. I didn't tell him to put that in there. The defendant has a right to examine your medical history and determine if your evidence, emotional distress from the incident alleged in your complaint or any other incident. To the extent you refuse to sign the authorizations, your lawsuit is in jeopardy of being dismissed. Then he wrote me, please contact me upon receipt of this note.
Okay, so once again, this is from your attorney.
Yes.
And once again, your attorney is stating that he needs you to sign these papers for your medical records.
Yes.
And if you do not sign the papers for the medical records, well, it led up to where we are now.
Right.
Which means they dismissed the case.
They dismissed the case.
Okay, so, but now, okay, so you didn't sign any papers. He sent the letter. He wants you to go ahead and telling you it's necessary for you to sign, but you never did sign. So what happens, because at some point in time, your medical records have been received.
Right. He calls me on the phone that Sunday. I'll never forget. He calls me on the phone the day before this letter. And he calls me and says, I've been doing this for 30 years and you need to come in, Mr. Herbert, and you need to fill out these forms and these paperwork. I said, I am not filling out those forms. It has nothing to do with the case. I said, man, what are you looking for? And he said, well, they're looking for something. For what? There's nothing to look for. So he turns around. He says, well, I'm quitting the case. What? Just like that.
He said he withdrawing from the case.
I'm withdrawing from the case.
And why is he withdrawing again?
He said, I'm withdrawing because you didn't fill out the medical authorization forms. You didn't sign them. I said, you're going to quit my case after 2 years. You're going to quit a case after 2 years because I wouldn't sign no medical authorization. You're supposed to object to that mess.
You also told him, say, I'm not releasing you.
Yeah, I said, I'm not releasing you from my case. I said, man, we've been going through this for 2 years. I'm leaving. I said, oh, so you want to leave? What? Somebody done paid you or something? They got mad. I said, listen, my faith and trust is in God. It's not in you. And I told him, and he got mad on the phone. He said, well, I'm leaving the case.
Right.
He still left the case. So it showed me that he was no up to no good anyway.
Now, when did he leave the case? About two
He sent me this. This is what he sent me.
2
He
weeks
said,
or 2 months before the...
2 weeks prior before the January 31st.
Now wait a minute, folks. I want y'all to hear this. On January the 29th, but this is January the 7th, 2018, when he sent me per my secretary. This is January the 8th. On January the 8th, it says it right here. It says the arbitrator denied the defendant's motion to dismiss your case. See attachment. Additionally attached is the brief I filed in opposition to the defendant's motion to dismiss. I have not heard from the arbitrator concerning my request to withdraw. Now watch this, everyone. This is what he sent, the email. What's the other one?
And once again, this is from your attorney.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm missing the arbitrator. There's another one.
Well, go ahead, Toby, bring it back.
But now...
she denied their motion to dismiss the sexual assault. She also, I got all that paperwork here. She dismissed their motion to dismiss the sexual assault. I got it right here in writing. She dismissed it. She dismissed everything that they tried to do, but then she turned around. All of a sudden, we kept. Wow, I got over 300 emails on my computer right now.
I believe it.
They told me, they said, we want your computer. They asked me what kind of computer you got. I said, I have an iMac. Well, we need your computer to get an analyst. I said, you ain't coming to my house.
Why would they not? But that sounds criminal. Why would they need your computer to examine for a sexual assault case? That sounds criminal on your behalf.
Yes.
This is crazy. So you're trying to tell me this? Wow, this is really far-fetched. This is crazy.
Folks. They said, if you got any iPads, anything that's electronically, anything that you have, we want it all.
Now, who said that again?
This is the defendants.
Yeah, but there was a reason why they said that.
We don't know the reason.
We don't know the reason.
But, okay, now I want you to tell me about, because somebody's got your medical records.
The medical records, they turn around, where's those papers at?
Because if somebody's got medical records, then who signed for it?
Wait, I'm going to show you something right here.
Now, mind you, people, we didn't know all this, that they had all this information.
Mr. Herbert, why don't you continue on with regards to the attorneys withdrawing from the case and all of that? Because that was a hot mess from what
it was.
What we reviewed. Go ahead.
The arbitrator denied the defendant's motion to dismiss claims concerning sexual harassment. The arbitrator granted the motion to dismiss claims concerning religious discrimination. Now, first of all... Wait,
see, religious discrimination, where did that even come from? Where did that phrase, that word, where did it even...
They throwing in chunk charges that I've never heard, and they ain't never heard of them. They was making up stuff as they went along, because they had nothing on me. They had nothing, period, because I had all the evidence. So they turn around...
Well, in the beginning, when we sought out the attorney, he asked us, what would we charge her? And it was because of our faith and our belief that she was not supposed to touch him in any sexual manner, because of what we stand for. And that was one of the charges that he put in there, because of religion, he put that in there. And then it was so on and so on.
Yeah, and I told them I'm biblical. So with the religion part, I don't know where they got that from. So he got mad at me, and they turned around and they kept begging me for my medical authorizations. Here's the medical authorizations.
Okay, I'm a little lost, because why would somebody have to have a religion for you not to put your hands on me? Or for you not to have a sexual assault against me? I don't understand. My religion's got nothing to do with it.
Yes,
period.
Exactly. Yeah,
this is the natural man's body. You do not touch.
Right.
This has got nothing to do with religion. This has got nothing to do with marriage. This has got nothing to do with none of that. I'm a single woman.
Right.
And what would my fight be? You see what I'm saying? You don't touch.
Right. I got you.
I'm just saying. Okay, continue.
So we comes back. My attorney leaves the case, everyone. He leaves the case.
And the judge
granted him his dismissal. Now, wait a minute. This is 2 weeks from the arbitration for me to get the payoff. He takes off before the arbitration. 2 weeks.
Oh, it sounded to me like he got paid off.
Hey, come on.
Hit Dodge. You know what? That vacation, he might have been paying off that car he was telling you about, that Mustang. You see what I'm saying? And if he out of town, you can best believe he was using your money for that vacation. That's just how trifling people are. Okay.
So he turns around, and his secretary, goes in the office.
They are corrupt.
He takes copies of my paperwork, and I said, you're not supposed to take copies of my files. You're supposed to give me my files directly to me. He took copies of my files. Now watch this, people. When he took copies of my file, miss, he turns around. The secretary, goes in, she got the files sitting all on the floor. So she was just copying everything and just throwing it in there. So we gets home. I'm sitting in there, and she says, well, here's the DVD where the girl sexually assaulted you at. This is the DVD. She turns around and says, wait a minute. So she looks over in this file. It was somebody else's. He had these hidden in another file with my name on them. And she said, well, here's 2 more DVDs. So I said, okay, cool. So I goes home with all the DVDs, and I put this one DVD in right here where it says subpoena. And when I put the DVD in my computer, why I come across a file with all of my Social Security medical records.
You got to be kidding me.
Wait a minute. Not just the medical records, people. Why they had the application, the judge's decision, the year I was born, all the way up to every job that I worked, everything on there, how much I made and how much I didn't make.
All for a white woman sexually assaulting you.
Everything.
Wow.
And then they turn around and change all the witness statements. And here's the witness statements that they changed all the witness statements in this this CD. They got every witness that I had. They done changed all the statements on this DVD.
Oh, those are not the original statements?
No.
Okay, but they did write it down though, right? Didn't they write down originals?
We got ours. And
that they wrote.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But this is the defenders.
That's the defender stuff. And they got the girl that sexually assaulted me. All her personal identity and everything is on there. So you know it wasn't meant for me.
This is so crazy.
It wasn't even meant for me.
This is so crazy.
So we goes back in. My wife goes through all the files. She looks through all the files. She said, baby. I said, what? She said, I'm about to blow your mind. I said, what's up? She said, they got the subpoenas in here for Social Security records custodian. So what you mean? She said, baby, they don't forge your signature. Here's my signature.
You gotta be kidding me!
No, they forged the signature.
Wow! Wait, this may have something to do with what's that organization? HIPAA. Oh, HIPAA might have to step in on this.
Yes.
Wow!
You got the judge, the Supreme Court judge. Wow. She signed right here. She turns around, forged my signature here.
Here come HIPAA. Is it HIPAA? Hippo?
That's a federal
What is
offense.
it? A HIPAA?
No, it's a federal offense.
I said, how do you pronounce it?
HIPAA.
HIPAA. Here come HIPAA.
Then they turn around.
They got your work history.
They got my work history, my Social Security number. So I had to go to Social Security.
This is a violation against your constitutional rights.
But now that people, in the files, when we went pick the files up from my attorney, they had, not only do they have all the information on the CD, mind you, but they also got it. Don't show it too much. They also has the package of printout.
Oh my medical records. Wait a minute. This is even worse, people. They mailed my medical records and emailed my medical records in an open email.
No secure email.
Jams, the arbitrator,
emailed
my stuff with an open email, my medical records. Then they send my medical records through the mail.
Wow.
That's illegal.
Of course that's illegal. Now tell them while you're on the illegal part, why don't you tell them about your little visit to the Social Security office with regards to this matter?
We went to Social Security. Social Security, we took it this CD to here, this DVD, this subpoena here. The Social Security guy went in. He said, well, let me look it up and see where the subpoena's at. He said, we never received no subpoena from nobody. I said, what do you mean? He said, we didn't get no subpoena. He said, excuse me. He said, wait a minute. He said, first of all, you would have to come in anyway, fill out a form. You have to show your ID and your Social Security card, and we have the notary. He said, then your defendants would have to come in, and they only get a certain part anyway of what they need. He said, they would have to pay a fee. He said, there's nothing in our records indicating them signing or paying for anything.
And not only that, he said that the form that they signed is forgery.
It's forgery.
Ooh.
Social Security said it was fraud.
He said we went twice. We went up there twice.
Yeah,
because the second time we see the fraud.
The fraud. They said that the DVD, the CD here, is not even theirs. Because they have a laser. They have a certain CD they use as a laser. Mm-hmm. They lied and said that Social Security they got authorization. No, they didn't.
And when you say they, you're speaking of Dollar Tree attorney. No, we're going to call it out.
Right. The attorney.
Dollar Tree's attorney.
Yes.
Dollar Tree's attorney.
Wow.
So she said that, when we went to Social Security, the fraud specialist said that the paper, she made a copy of everything that we had, even when they sent it, when the Dollar Tree and defenders attorneys sent it through the mail. she made a copy of the envelope and everything because they sent his medical records and everything with his social security number and everything on an envelope. Now, mind you, the kind of envelope that they sent it in was one of those kind of plastic paper kind where you just snap, you could just put it and close it back up.
Right. Oh, yes.
You never know they go in.
Just peel it away, peel it up, and then peel it back. Wow.
So that was like an open mail. You could send it through to the U.S. Posters. So she said everything was insecure. It wasn't secure. She said that there was fraud. She said it might not have been on their level because they handled the application and everything. It was on the level of the state, which the state handled the medical part. So it was all the medical information, but we said we have both. We have application as well as the medical. So we have everything. We have the application, the medical, all the medical information, as well as the result from all the incidents that you did. We show her everything that we have, and she said that they made a copy of everything. She said because it was fraud. It was definitely fraud done.
Now, who is this?
She's a fraud specialist.
But of who?
Social Security.
Social Security said that.
Yep.
Yeah, because
They take copies? Did they take copies?
Oh, they make copies and everything.
At this point, we saying that all his Social Security number is out there.
Right.
So
I would be upset.
We telling them that we need to protect. You got to change his Social Security now because you guys put all this out there, and everybody.
Absolutely. And what did she say?
She said that they're still doing investigation. We haven't heard anything from them.
They said that Social Security said they never gave them nothing.
They say so. It shows nothing. It shows on the record because she said you had to come in. They had to show everything on the record. So we say, well, at this point, it's an inside job.
Yep, it was an inside job. It's a federal offense.
So how else would they get information?
And the forged signatures are a federal offense, and I can take it to the feds right now, and they will arrest them.
Okay. So now, where are we right now? This is where we are. Now, I do know that you have taken this a step further, and we're not going to go into that detail because that could become a case that they're investigating.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it alone.
Right.
But Mr. and Mrs. Herbert have gone further with their case. It just doesn't stop here. But this was something that they wanted to share to the viewers and definitely to the African American man. Hashtag Me Too. Okay?
Yes.
This is what's happening.
Right.
And hopefully someone can get something out of here. Is there anything else you all might want to tell the viewers? Anything that they should, any legal advice? And we may, if this thing works out, you may very well come and let them know that it worked out.
Right, and I want to thank everybody.
We're not finished because we didn't end it with the.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we can stop and go.
Right.
Well, which one is this now?
Now we had an arbitration from May. May the 8th was supposed to be an arbitration
This
day.
week.
It was supposed to be, but
Right.
it didn't.
They closed it. They dismissed.
Okay, wait a
it.
minute.
So we had third arbitration.
Okay. Now, you said that there's a third arbitration, or will supposedly be a third arbitration. Where are we now? Is there an arbitration coming up? Have they canceled it? What are we doing here?
Well, we had an arbitration day for May.
In 2018.
Right. We had an arbitration day from May the 8th, 2018. That's what's supposed to be our next arbitration date.
Now, well, we're not in May yet. What do you mean supposed to be?
Well, we are in May. May the 8th be what?
This week.
This week?
Yeah.
And it's canceled?
They canceled it.
They canceled it.
They canceled the arbitration because I wouldn't sign the medical authorization forms because they wanted to go back and get my signature and go back and put it on where they messed up.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the game.
Absolutely.
They said the arbitrators, said that since he would not submit his authorization medical release form, so it said that order granted Dollar Tree motion for dismissal for failure to participate in discovery and failure to prosecute. So since when he wouldn't submit his signature, and the reason why he wasn't submit it was people. Let me explain something to you first before we close out. The reason why we was not going to submit anything to them was because they fraudulently electronically sign our name
Yes.
to get to the arbitration in the first place.
Right.
So when we first got to that first hump, when they forgery electronically signed our name, we said we would not be signing anything to the defendants because of what they did in the beginning. So we wasn't going to sign anything for them. Now, if our attorney needs something to sign, it'd be a different story. But it wasn't for our attorney, it was for the defendants. So we didn't trust the defendants because of that they did in the federal court. So since when the paper came and said that we need to sign for our medical, we asked our attorney, why do we need to sign for our medical? When we did not go to a psychiatrist. We went to a pastorality for counseling for his emotional, because he was emotionally stressing out because of the threats and everything that was going on. And then
absolutely.
So we went to our pastor for counseling. We got a letter from our pastor showing that he counseled him. But when he went to the deposition, and when they took him to the deposition, he told them that, and the defense attorney said, we're not going to accept the letter from the pastor.
Wow.
We wanted you to sign some medical. We said we were not signing any medical because we didn't seek psychological counseling.
Exactly.
So we're not going to sign no medical. There's no need to sign no medical. For what reason?
And so let me let y'all know this also. We went to other attorneys, and all the attorneys we went to said they didn't want to touch the case.
Right. Because
the signatures of dealing with HIPAA.
When they say one attorney went to, as we pick up our paperwork from our attorney, we was that same day we pick our paperwork up, we seen another attorney. When he kept us almost a week, didn't he?
Yeah.
He kept all our papers a week. He called us back. He said, I cannot represent you. And we asked him, Bertram asked him why. Mr. Herbert asked him why. Why can't you represent? He said it's complicated.
He said it's very complicated.
So it sounds to me like you'll never get an understanding. Attorneys know what they're talking about, don't want to tell you the truth about what's going on or why they won't accept it, but they're reading the case, but won't tell you why they won't accept the case. It just sounds like a whole lot of coercion, collusion, corruption, all of the above.
Because that's not the only attorney we went to. We called what?
I called an attorney in New York not too long ago, just now, a little while ago, everyone. I called an attorney in New York, Manhattan. He told me something. He educated me. He said the attorneys in Michigan are the worst.
I'm telling you.
He said they kind of like, it's kind of like, he said they're worse than doctors, police officers. He said they're the worst because they click together and they side with one another. But he said in my case, he said there was a DVD and a police report and 5 witnesses. This case shouldn't have even went, he said, not even a year.
I agree. Well, there you have it, Mr. and Mrs. Herbert. And for the viewers, when a black man gets sexually assaulted by a white woman, he gets no justice. Only in America.
Okay, I want to say one more thing though before we do that.
Okay, dang, go ahead. Well, because
okay.
he's going to split.
Okay, and people, before we close out, I'd like to make one point. Black women, stand by your man. I said this case was tampered from the very first time we went to the police department.
For real?
I said because the prosecutor did not even let us know. We had only way we found out the girl was picked up because the guy that came into the store that made a threat at him. So we called the detective. The detective said, you guys didn't get a phone call? You didn't get a letter? Now, mind you, when we went to talk to the prosecutor, she was a white young lady. She was very rude. She went to the door. She didn't let us go into her office. She stood to the door and said, I'll get back with you. We said, well, have you pick up the DVD? I said, I'll get back with you. So she never even got back with us.
So that
was the number one thing.
These are just some very nasty, trifling.
This was a white woman. Now we went to the federal court. The federal court judge was a white female. Now, so we can get no justice there because if any time that something is misspelled, if a name is misspelled, that's not you. She was supposed to throw their defense out. And she supposed to have went through the court, so we got no justice there. Now, mind you, when we went to the defendant's attorney, even though the defendant's attorney here is a male, the defendant's attorney for Dollar Tree for Virginia is a white female. She was rude and nasty. Now we went to the prosecutor. You had the director that was over the case that was collecting all the information, arbitration. She was a white female. Then you had the judge that was supposed to be over our arbitration. That was a white female. And people in Michigan said, oh, by the way, Michigan is a women's state. It don't mean for the black women, but it means for the white women's state. So where do a black man get any justice in the United States of America? But not only in the United States, but in Michigan.
There you have it, Mr. and Mrs. Herbert. When a black man gets sexually assaulted by a white woman, he gets no justice. Only in America.